Hey everyone, today I got something a little bit different. This is a Heathkit ID29 automotive tune-up meter. It was introduced in 1969. This is an advertisement from the 1970 Heathkit catalog. What's interesting is that this device has never been used. It is brand new. Over 50 years ago, somebody dropped $30, assembled this, and then put it on a shelf. We can see there's not a scratch on this box. The plastic is in perfect condition. Even the back hinge that bends from opening and closing has no stress marks on it. So let's open it up and have a look inside. And the inside, as we would expect, is in absolutely brand new condition, not a single scratch on the meter. Even the instruction label glued onto the back is in perfect condition, just shrunk from drying out over the years. No issues at all with the knobs or the silk screening, as well as the leads, which are in perfect condition. They've never connected to anything before, or so it seems to be. So what was the reason this was purchased, built, and never used? We're going to open it up and find out. These brown raised areas hold the test unit within position in the case. We can see there's another one on this side. Starting on the knob side, I'll push in the detent and gently press down on the knobs to get it started. This will prove to be easier if I remove that test cable first, so I'm just going to pull it out of the way before I continue. Since I can't push down on the bezel, I'll pull down on the power plug while pushing in the detent to gently release it. The smaller detents on the face are easier to deflect, and that'll remove our test equipment from the case. No damage done. The inside of the case is perfectly clean except for some plastic residue from the original installation, maybe over 50 years ago. I've placed this plastic piece below just to raise the test set angle to a viewable height. As we can see, the bezel and meter here look absolutely perfect. The knobs are in good condition. Not one single scratch. Amazing. Let's go through all these knobs right quick. Back and forth is good. And on the bottom one, again, perfect. The circuit board has an interesting blue color labeled 85440. The inside condition looks new. Only a handful of components on this board. We're definitely going to hit these pads with deoxit before we begin our testing. I'll also note that there are several electrolytic capacitors on this board. This is the biggest one, this can right here, so we'll see what happens. There's also a couple of potentiometers that are used for calibration, and we will be calibrating it as we go through the book. Sure enough, to my surprise, this is a factory-built Heathkit product. This was not an assembled model, so somebody paid for a finished assembly and never used it. But we're going to get to the bottom of this as we test through the official Heathkit assembly manual. But before I begin, I want to hit these contacts with deoxit, at which point I'll work the knobs back and forth, making sure that the contacts are good before we start any testing and calibration, or we'll be doing it all over again. Our first test has us clipping both leads together, so we'll do that now. This is more of a calibration. What I'm doing is setting that needle to the 0 position. It doesn't look like it on camera due to parallax distortion, but it's exactly at 0. And with that needle now set up, we'll introduce the bench DC power supply. I have a video series on the restoration of this IP20. Click the link in the top right corner, will take you there. I'm setting this up now for 6 volts. Currently at 7. I'll bring it down to exactly 6. And then I'll shut off the DC portion. The function knob will be set all the way to dwell. And the cylinders doesn't matter. The leads are now connected to the power supply, black to negative, red to positive. Flipping on DC, we got our 6 volts over here. We're looking for full deflection here, and I'm going to adjust the potentiometer to achieve that. It's the top one in the back, trying to get everything in camera. But as I turn it all the way to its limits, I'm not getting nearly to that 15 that I want to get to. So I'll try moving it in the other direction, see if I could clean this up. And it's still not there. We'll work it back and forth several times to see if we can get that going. I will admit the potentiometer does feel a bit weird, so it may require some closer investigation. It turns out that this 2K potentiometer was defective. Here's the old one that I removed, and then replaced with the same exact value. So I'll fire up the DC again. And wow, we're almost at full deflection. Let's go make some adjustments here on that potentiometer and see if we can get it right on the 15. Got it on the 15, still have room to spare in the potentiometer, so that problem's solved. And that may have actually been the issue all along. At this point, I'm going to bring the voltage from 6 all the way up to 12 volts. and the needle should not move down below. And I've reached the max there, so I'm going to go up to the next digit to be able to hit 12 volts. Making its way now to 12 volts slowly. The needle still doesn't move any, so this test has passed. The next test predates the concept of safety. We'll be using an ungrounded power cord, which will be tying directly to the leads through a resistor. Let's set it up. I am curious to see, though, if this works in a function generator. So what I'm going to do is set up my function generator to 60 Hertz and attempt to run this without plugging it into mains power. Cranking the voltage all the way up as it's currently set to 60 Hertz. Just out of curiosity, I want to see if this works. And we got something on connectivity. I dropped it down to 5, so we'll see what happens when I bring it up to 20. Yeah, I don't think this method is going to work. We're going to have to go with the power cord. As we're going by the book to do the actual calibration, we should be following the instructions as close as possible. With that in mind, I've soldered the 10K resistor to the end of one of the leads of the power cord as the book mentions. And through both a variac and an isolation transformer, I'll connect the black lead to the one without the resistor and the red lead to the one with the resistor. Not only do I have my variac and kilowatt connected to this wire, I'm also using an isolation transformer. Fire up the variac now, and we're going to roll up the voltage, which I'm going to monitor through the kilowatt, which is just off to the left, until we're at the proper voltage. Back in 1970, that will be between 110 and 115 volts. I'll be using my plastic tweakers for this adjustment. This device is not built for mains power, it's just being used this one time for calibration, so extra precaution is being taken with a plastic tweaker. But first I'm running that potentiometer back and forth to clean the wipers, and then I'll center it. Now we'll throw about 115 volts at it, and we can see that it is at full deflection. With these settings, I'll turn the calibration until it reads 1200 RPM, or 12 on the 0 to 15 scale, right there. That's perfect, let's move on. I'll switch the cylinders to 8 now. We should be reading 900 RPM, and we are, exactly. So I move the function to high RPM, then I set the cylinders down to 4, and we should read 1800, and it's perfectly on 1800. Next we switch the cylinder switch to 3, and it should read 2400, and it is, so that's working as well. We'll shut this down now because we don't want it running too long. Now I'll disassemble my temporary test cable and desolder my resistor so I could use it in another repair. This brings us back to the case for reinstallation. Carefully laying the test equipment back in the case towards the bottom. I'll bend out both sides up top just to get the fasteners in place. Then I'll push up the device while bending the insides here so that I could lock it into its final position. There's one, and there's the second one. Wind up the cord back inside the compartment. And that's it. This tune-up meter is ready for use. I'm currently rebuilding the fuel injection system on the Delorean as well as the ignition system. And I've also had to reset the CO2 screw, and I'll use the Dwell meter in order to set that up. There'll be a video for that separately. Click the link in the top right corner, we'll take you to it. But that concludes this video on this brand new Heathkit automotive tune-up meter from the early 70s. To think it was just one potentiometer that stopped this from ever being used. I hope you found this video enjoyable, entertaining, and informative. Do me a favor, click that like button down below, helps me out a lot when you do, and hit that subscribe button to be informed of more videos like this when they come out. Again, I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching. Would you like to reply?